be fair. Let's talk about things, Matt.
Hey guys, so fix my list with, yeah, there's quite a few changes to apply to some of these things.
It's just several.
Just a bit.
Yeah, like maybe one or two. So we're going to try to talk about the new lists, new secondaries, what we have to do with those new lists. Let's talk about a couple of the basics real quick, Matt.
Yeah.
One, no more stranglehold, no more till the last. So you're
That's
not
huge.
Yeah, I mean those are two of the secondaries that they were the two most taken secondaries, not even close. You know what I mean? Of everything. So that's a huge deal that you're not building into the last because, well, there's no reason to build into the last because it doesn't get you any points. You could make some expensive units and keep them alive if you'd like, but you don't get any points for it. So
I think it's going to be really interesting to see, because like this Thousand Suns list we've got on screen here, 2 to 10 Terminators and Iron Man. In the past, you'd sit and go, cool, yep, these must to the last, they can chill. And they were very tough to deal with because people are trying to keep them safe, keep them alive. All of a sudden, if you've got 20 Terminators just going at you, they're still very tough, but that's a lot more potential damage that the army's just gained from that weird change.
it's potential army that they change, but it's potential damage that they have to now do because they have to now start what secondaries are they scoring. Now, a couple of things are really nice. The Wrath of Magnus changes make it laughably easy because you have to do more blessings, more maledictions, and more witchfires than your opponent. So if your opponent has a psyker and they're not another T-Sons player, you are probably just straight getting your points every turn.
Yep.
That's really easy. They made landscapes a little different. I think it's still a little bit easier. So, but what is your third secondary here? Are we taking a psychic secondary every time and just using the auto completes?
So the thoughts on the notes of the list were a banners, an engage, and a psychic of some kind.
See, I don't know if I want to engage. I guess the problem with engage for me is, again, it forces my hand, and I would like to be able to do nothing if I need to.
Yeah, well, you do have the duplicity. You do have like some Zangor Enlightened. I would probably be looking at taking a lot more of them.
I'd like to also see 2 Chaos Spawn. The Chaos Spawn are magical for, especially in missions where you don't want to be in your backfield. Either one of the Dawn of War missions, for instance, those 2 Chaos Spawn become just gold. Mission 11, for instance, gold, scouring, gold, because you don't want to, anybody that you have to keep in the back, boxing out your backfield from people coming in, is wasted potential damage. So 46 points with two spawn is perfect for that.
Would you go 2 singles, or would you be tempted now by something like 2 units of 3? Because then you've got that option when you want to engage, they can be your early push, annoyance.
I don't know, because it's not like a huge amount of points, but it's points that I'm willing, right now at 23 points, I'm completely willing to throw them away and I don't care. Yeah. If I put 2 units of 3, I feel like I'm going to be tempted to make them do something, because now it's an actual real amount of points that I'm putting out there. So
I think
there's something to be said for either. Yeah, I'm not saying it's the end of the world, but it is something where when I'm getting into, over, hundreds of points, I want that to kind of do something for me, because while if I just have 2 singles, I don't know. It really depends on how your list plays out, to be perfectly honest. To be fair, it's one of those things where you go, when I put this on the board with the new secondaries and the new play, the thing is that most armies are going to have to play in a more engaging manner. So you have to think about, how is your new game plan? There isn't to the last, there's not Stranglehold. So the typical game plan for a lot of armies, including this army, would be I sit with my to the last, and every turn I send up that one thing, my one cheap thing. I take the middle, and I
get my triangle.
Yep. And that basically means that you're taking 30 points away in secondaries and going, do something different than you were before. And that's a big deal because it's going to require you to actually engage with your opponent, which means you're going to have more trading pieces, not really just more throwaway pieces, but pieces that can pick up your opponent's units and take their objectives away from them, do whatever they have. Now, this army has a ton of movement, which I love. It's secret movement too. It's between Surge, the Crystal, and the Cold Duplicity spell.
I hate playing against armies that have that or Gate of Infinity, etc. Because with reserves, if someone has, you have to screen out a little bit, fine. If someone has that all game, at some point you can't screen out everywhere, or you're dropping board control in other areas.
The other thing about this list is don't be afraid to play the late game. Everybody can screen out turns 1, 2, and 3. No one really can screen out turns 4 and 5. They've just lost too many pieces.
Especially if they're screening and you're going, okay, I'll be passive and just pick up your screens from reasonable safety. And then next turn, they have to just sacrifice something else to do that screen. And you catch up and make that push later on.
So it's a huge deal. Now, let's talk about the changes to this army. They're very sneaky on that because they made the weapons and the upgrades for the rubrics and the termies. Not the termies. The termies got one of the upgrades free. So you gained a decent amount of points. Not a ton of points, but you did gain points in this list.
I think whereas you've gained points, it's probably more important to look at the CP loss, because I think that hurts a lot of the.
Well, you get it. You effectively. Well, let's go for the bonus. Well, let's go for the positives first, Matt. Come on. You basically, like for instance, he got that unit of Zangor Light. That's effectively where you got points. You know what I mean? You gained about 50 some points. You get a unit of Cultists, a unit of Enlighten. You get a unit of something. You know what I mean? You get one free unit that you didn't have before. Now we'll go to negative Nancy over here.
Yeah, I do. I think the Enlightened are amazing as well. I'd even consider dropping you a rubrics for 2 more squads of those.
Just to have the speed to be able to go places? Yeah. I can see that.
It unlocks, if you're looking at Engage, it unlocks that as well.
Let's go into the CP, though, because the CP is a big deal. I agree on that. Because of the fact that this is a CP-hungry army. To give all the buffs, to give -1 damage, to give +1, veterans on every. You're going to be using veterans every time you shoot. You know what I mean? This is an army that just sets CP on fire. And now they're starting, instead of starting with 7 and 9, they're starting with like 2 or 3.
I think even pre-game, though, you wanted a couple of warlord traits, a couple of relics. You're having to really trim, especially even multiple detachments isn't too bad. But if you start wanting lots of fast attacks for those little throwaway bits and pieces, which are now a lot more important, you don't really get all your relics and warlord traits you want pre-game.
And that's a big deal in this army too, because I think a couple of these combos are must-haves. So I like to have my scrolls on whoever has my Firestorm, which he does on that. It's the biggest character sniper in the game. It's just so huge because especially people playing against this, they can literally drop this. If they get the 9, they do 9 dice. All 5s do mortals, and then they'll add D3 mortals on top of that with ritual points. So the average out of that is basically 6 mortals at that point in time. Yeah. So they can just pick up characters just reliably. So if they see your characters, they know it's coming. But I think that's a must-have in this list. So I love the fact that he's got the scrolls and Firestorm Siege on it. It is a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's great. I've seen a lot of lists in the past where running like the Zangor Shaman with extra movement to give you that interrogate secondary, go out, cast the power, move back with a lot of ease. That being gone, I think hurts, but I don't think it's massive.
The thing, let's go over the combos that have to have. I think that the scrolls are a must-have, and I think that the crystal's a must-have, and it's what he has in the list right now. And if you put anything else on, though, you're getting into 2-in-1 CP's land, and I think that that's risky.
Yeah, I don't think it's as needed. I think that's a nice to have. And when you had the CP, you're like, yeah, great, I'll take it. But when you have to be a little bit strict with yourself, I can see you happily just going, no, no thanks, I don't want that. But I think one thing potentially that is going to hurt is if you want to do a Risen Rubrique or any kind of redeploy, that's going to hurt.
Yeah, not having. I mean, it's the biggest thing in the CP. This is for every army we're going to talk about right now. Everybody forgets it's not about what doing something. It's the threat of doing something. If Matt and I are playing right now, and I have 2 or 4 CP left in my bank, he has to worry about interrupts. He has to worry about fight on deaths. He has to worry about intercepting, you know what I mean, when he brings something in from reserve. If you don't have those, I mean, right here, the intercept strat for the Thousand Suns, I mean, that's 18 inches, you know what I mean, that you can just murder something if it comes in from reserve from the Terminators. If he doesn't have that, if you spend a couple, or if you just start with too few, all of a sudden you can just bring things in. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Is I found in test games that I have enough CP to do what I want to do, but I don't have enough CP to threaten with what I want to do. You know what I mean? And the threat is a lot of times much, much bigger than the actual result. Keeping people away is big.
I would be looking at that and thinking, okay, you've only got a couple of CP. I'll give you a tasty-ish unit and go and try and bait out that intercepts, that interrupts, etc. Because I know as soon as those CP go down, those Terminators, they're a lot squishier. And if I can bait those little bits out and force you to use them elsewhere, or if I can make it so I'm setting up that you have to save those onto the Terminators, it does give a lot of the play.
100% on that. Matthew, we didn't see the Black Templars list. Matt chose a couple of them. We might just pick those if we have enough time. For sure, we could just sneak it in, and I'll just grab it. We were trying to figure out what we want to do, because a lot of this is going to be today's Fix My List is going to be a lot of conceptuals and talking about the things that you need to do, period, in your list, and then focusing on the factions, not even just the list as much as that. Because the list changes so much because of the CP change, but also the secondaries changed a significant amount. So the game, a couple of these armies change intrinsically because of the secondaries.
Yeah, it's more the concept of why things are having to change, and so, rather than as much of what we would change to the lists. It's like we can look at some lists and go, okay, that would have been fantastic, but all of a sudden this, and this makes it okay, yeah, so maybe we need different toolboxes rather than just a big hammer.
So going to chat a little bit, Lorenzo, I agree that the Terminator Sorcerer with Devastating Sorcery and Witch Warrior is far more dangerous. The only thing is the movement. The movement's such a big thing to Duplicity. So it's hard for me to leave Duplicity just because of that late game movement, and it gives you a lot of options for really flipping the game on its side. You can be in a losing battle and Duplicity over turns 4 and 5 and literally take your opponent's entire backfield away from him and literally snatch victory from the jaws of defeat a lot of times. I agree that guy does insanity damage, but sometimes just the crystal, and I can still screen out a temporal surge because I know exactly how you can do it. So there's difference. I think that the different cults actually have a lot of play. I mean, Duplicity, Time, and Magic are very, very good. You know what I mean? So it just depends on what you value the most. I am a slinky Eldar player at heart, so being able to bounce around means a lot to me.
Yeah, playing against Thousand Suns, anything that's not Duplicity, I always feel more confident into, because I know where it is, I know where the damage is coming from. Even if the damage is better, it's more manageable because it's in front of you. You can contain it a little bit more. As soon as it's Duplicity, it has just that potential all game to move not just one but several units anywhere on the board. that's when it kind of gets a lot more worrying. It's a lot harder to control, especially if these armies are a lot more static, kind of defensive roles with some of the new secondaries. Don't need to push as much, can be more passive themselves. It does give you a lot more play to worry them and not just let them sit in a corner, because you can get to that corner straight away.
Yeah, it just makes people defend the entire game, which is just something I don't want to do. Grey Knights do the same thing. They make me annoyed. Kill the guy with gate is what I want to do. So,
yeah, I hate playing against them.
Yes. So in this list, I would like to see a little more trash, to be perfectly honest. I'd like to lose maybe one unit and get myself a little more stuff to play the game. The other thing is that
I don't know how you do that though, because you need to, like, you've filled just fast slots here, which is normally where the trash is in the Thousand Suns. Unless you're going to look at maybe some Zangor, some cultists, or just more little rubric units to throw around.
I do like the rubric units with Surge because you can steal something. The Winged Demon Prince is a bad dude, but he still has to be in front of me. So, I don't know. I do like 4x5 rubrics a lot. I like this list, to tell you the truth, quite a bit.
It has a lot of the tools. It's just maybe a little character heavy. I don't know.
I wouldn't mind losing the Shaman, to be perfectly honest.
Do you not find he's really useful for just throwing out and doing? He's your interrogate. He's your little caster that you don't really care about because they just want to be doing all of their either damage or buffs.
I mean, yes, but I'm just looking for a reason. I'd like to have a couple things, and I'm just looking for some of the cuts. That's the problem with Thousand Suns, is you're spending so many points in these big Terminator squads that it's tough to find any other points to go other places. The Terminators in these main characters are just automatics, you know what I mean? So after that, I mean, do I change a Rhino out for another squad?
No, I really like the Rhino, and I think it's even more important now that you want to be going more aggressive with everything. It gives you that easy push to the flank, so your Terminators can just go in somewhere. A little bit of extra protection, because you don't always have where you don't want to plop Terminators to start getting chipped away early on because you don't have time, etc., to bring them back. I love one Rhino in Thousand Suns, and I don't
hate it at all. I'm just trying to figure out where I want points.
I think rather than looking at the points, I think it can do a psychic secondary, it can do banners. It's just the engage, like we were saying before. Is there a better option than engage that we could then tweak to suit?
Maybe. I want to make sure that I can do banners for sure. With new banners are amazing.
Yeah, new banners is so strong. The fact that you can just do them all the time, you're not getting them taken down as easily. You can put them up. So the turn your opponent comes and steals it, you just put it straight back up. You're only dropping 1 point rather than 2 turns of it. Or if they can continue to just throw something to stop you, point it back up. And armies like this, where you don't really want to get too close to them, because all the little psychic powers will just mop up those little bits and pieces before the shooting and combat.
The thing is that with this army, you have to, and this goes into just any army that's Thousand Suns, plan out your psychic phase, plan it out before you get to a tournament. I think it's super helpful. I run through my psychic phases and what I'm going to spend my ritual points on beforehand. Like, I literally have like if I do this, then this, then this, then this, what am I going to do? It helps your time, it keeps you on the clock, but it also, if you screw up a Thousand Suns psychic phase, you can actually really ruin your turn, like the whole turn. It's really big.
So do you also run a spreadsheet with all your powers and like priority,
100%,
etc.?
Oh, 1,000%. Come on now. I'm such a nerd about what I want to do with everything.
Oh yeah,
it's so important.
It's something I don't see a lot of players do, and especially for Thousand Suns, when you can easily be casting 15 powers in a turn. Having that spreadsheet of going, okay, what have I cast? Who have I cast with? This unit's done this. This unit's done this. This unit's done that. Where's my critical things? Have them at the top of the sheet, highlighted, whatever color coded.
And how you're going to ritual your ritual points with them. A lot of times I put those together. Like, what ritual is going to go with what? What do I want? You know what I mean? What secondaries did I take? Do I need to auto cast this? Do I need to undeniable cast this? You know what I mean? So it's super important to know this on this. Everybody, yes, this list does need Abby. I have been trying to fit Abby in all of my cast lists, and the problem with Thousand Suns is we're having a hard time putting another spawn. Let alone having.
Yeah, I think like he looks amazing, and we'll probably see all of his stuff tomorrow. For anyone who's not seen the full breakdown of it all, we will be some chaos coverage when the codex goes up pre-order. But I think he just takes too much out of this list rather than putting too much in.
I do like him a lot in Death Guard. We'll touch on that later. You know what? Let's pop on Thousand Suns and do a little bit more. Well, otherwise, I could talk Thousand Suns for like the next hour or so, because I think that they're one of the most complex armies in the game, and I think their ceiling is way up, but their floor is also way low. Because if you mess up a Thousand Suns, the wheels can come off the bus really quick. Let's talk about Tyranids and the guys. I'm going to tell you this right now. Everybody's poo-pooing on Tyranids like they just became this like tier D list or something. These guys are good, man.
I think Tyranids are still right at the top. I think the main difference now is every game is harder for them. Every game is a game. They're not just going to roll people like they potentially were in the past. But there's still a lot of just stuff and inherent strength in that army. It's like,
so let's look at this.
Interesting changes though.
Yeah. So let's go over before we hit the list. Let's go over the changes in the Tyranids, because I think a couple of them are funny. I also have I don't have the meme ready. I love the fact that adaptive is no longer adaptive. You have to pick it. So
I don't mind that too much, because I think
it's just the irony, buddy. It's just the irony.
It was, even if it was just before the game rather than after you've deployed to know who's going first or second, it was a little bit much in comparison to how everyone else gets to pick their adaptive, but it still gives tons of flex. It's like a chapter trait ish and a half. So
yeah, it's very strong. It's just the irony that the adaptive is no longer adaptive. I think the bigger thing is that the Hive Tyrant has to be the Warlord, and then the Warlord has to be on the table for your Synaptic Imperative to be able to exist. I think that's a huge deal.
It's like a lot of the time you're going to see, well, we were seeing the Reaper Flyrants running around, and especially with the changes to No to the last, I was kind of thinking, oh yeah, cool. We're just going to see them being a lot more aggressive, a bit less passive, because they don't need to stay alive. They can be more throwaway, just do the damage and the distraction. But all of a sudden, if you're going to lose all your imperatives, especially for Leviathan with big warrior units, which this list doesn't have, but a lot of them are running, that's going to be a lot bigger a change, I think.
It's a huge deal on that, because of the fact that you have the matter of fact, I'm going to let's make these guys go down one. It makes it so that it's a different playstyle at that point in time, because you're going to have people, if you get sloppy with your Hive Tyrant, I'm going to send somebody on a suicide mission to go kill that guy, and all of a sudden you lose your Synaptic Imperatives. It's something that you have to watch out for in your playstyle. I don't think it makes them significantly weaker. It makes it so they have to not zoom up. You're not going to see flyers zooming up with the Reaper unless they're doing like a double detachment. You know what I mean? And then they have two Hive Tyrants, because otherwise I think losing your imperatives is just way too big of a risk for the bonus of being aggressive with a Hive Tyrant.
Yeah, I think some armies you can get away with it a lot more. So if you're kind of running like a monster mash, it's not as critical. But I think when you've got Leviathan with big warrior bricks, etc., that every turn want that 5-up invuln, that's when it starts to become really key.
Yeah, the thing is, Matt makes a great point on that. A lot of tournament players are in full-fledged panic mode. They should still be pretty good. They're going to be amazing. I'm telling you right now, they're just not going to be auto wins is the problem. You know, before you had people just going my stuff's undercosted and big, and I'll just push it up on you and damage check you. That's not going to be the same playstyle, but they still have a ridiculous amount of weapons. You literally just go, you lost a Maliceptor and your list is still legal. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's not...
the points hurt, but they needed to a little bit. I think rather than the points, the biggest changes are the Stranglehold and the to the last one. A lot of lists, you could just build that in and all of a sudden you're done. Now, the NID book secondaries aren't fantastic. I think you're going to see a lot like this list has and go double Neurothrope, redundancy, you play the psychic secondaries more.
Weirdly enough, I think that Tyranids are going to kill you off the board like they did before, but you're going to have more chances to win because they have a harder time scoring.
Yeah, I think the way Nids were just kind of going, cool, I'm here, I'm scoring on my points, you have to come at me. All of a sudden now a lot of armies can just go, no, you come at me, I'm going to try and chip you away, I'm going to do bits and pieces. And Nids are going to, because they're going to have to flip to, like, banners is still fantastic for them. The psychic secondaries against some armies, like this Nid list against the Thousand Suns list we just looked at, you can't do a bore. You don't really want to be doing Warp Ritual. You're just trying to brute force powers through against armies with lots of ways around it. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that.
Oops, I'm gonna do a side thing because somebody used my name and that's just my call. Plus, I'm a small child, so I can't stay on focus. Brad, I'm going against common logic and running Necron Warrior spam with the new protocols and secondaries. Do you see this being competitive? Yes, it depends on what you put behind it.
Yeah, I think like all Warrior spam, probably not so much because they can still just die and the damage output isn't fantastic. But like a couple of blocks and more stuff,
yeah,
it's going to get a lot more friends.
100%. A couple of that. Silent King actually came legit right now until they FAQ it. The Silent King can have Minirs rezzed by Xeris. So that's a huge deal, and he auto takes the damage on them. It doesn't matter if he's wounded or not. So I actually like that list quite a bit. You need some hand-to-hand with that, and all of their stuff went down in points. So Necrons are going to be legit. Also, their secondaries got, like, wackily better. So, yes, I do like them. I also like a 10-man squad and a Ghost Arc. Because you can really move block the crap out of people and then just dump out the Necron Warriors OBSEC on something. But I would run the OBSEC and the pregame movement and just rock up. The Necrons are going to be very good. There's going to be a lot of builds that are going to show up that are all going to be playable. I think that Necrons needed all this stuff. They finally reached a critical mass of buffs that made them a legit army. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited to see where Necrons go.
100%.
I think, like in the past, I played Nids into Necrons and just gone, oh, I'm sorry, this feels bad. Now I'm like, okay, this is going to be really interesting. This is going to be.
Sorry,
like, it's got play.
All I know is we've got a super chat. Thank you so much. And the reason I love it is because I love the name. Peaches the Destroyer. Will we see more actual Space Wars with more diverse lists that are good instead of just seeing successors? Ragnar's looking pretty decent, 120 points. I don't know. Space Wars got hit fairly hard from the Relics and Warlord Shades thing and the CP reduction.
I just think like the basing they do, like the successor just gives you so much more. It just makes every unit like so much better. Like Ragnar is
a monster. Yeah, but double exploding sixes is a real thing.
Yeah, I do think special characters in general are going to be looked at a lot more because you don't have to pay those warlord traits and relics. They kind of get them built in. They're not always good, but you get them built in.
It's going to be huge. So weirdly enough, the Blood Angels got everything the Space Wolves wanted because of their reduction in cost and stuff like that. I would have liked to see more of the wolf stuff get pointed down. I think you're still going to see more successors, to be perfectly honest, to be fair. I do love Murder Fang. I do have Murder Fang. I actually prefer Woofing
Dreads.
Just say the WOOF. dreads to Murderfang though because of the invul, the base invul in that. So, but I still think you're probably going to see successors. He's an amazing model though, so that's one reason to put him in your list because he looks badass. So. Let's go over the stupid list, though. We just completely ignored it because I'm a child and I bounce around too much.
Oh, you're like a magpie. Anything shiny, you're off.
It is.
So I think this has it's got the secondaries are huge for Nids. I think you need to adapt the list to play around it a lot more. And I actually really like the Leviathan Spore Assist, but I would definitely be giving it Synapse, because I think that lets you play the engage game a lot more, even if you're just putting some random bits and pieces in it. I'm not sold on Terran FXs, but they do have really good tools.
They're big T8 models. I don't like Harpies without the Venom cannons, to be honest. I don't like Stranglethorns very much.
No, like even with the points going up, I think the Venom cannons, they're still worth it. Because if you sit and run the numbers, Stranglethorn into an Arrow Contempt Terminator or just Marine, they're very inefficient.
Yeah, they bounce off too much. The damage 4 is just such a big deal.
And the AP is big as well.
Yeah, the AP and the damage 4. I mean, the Harpy by itself, and you don't have to like put the Harpy down back there super crazy aggressive. You can literally just fly back and forth on the back of your board and just pick up vehicles so well. Damage 4 is just crazy. That's just a big thing. So I would like to see that. Zolans with Neuroparasite, I should have basically put those down there. Oops.
Yeah, so that's a weird little thing for me, and I probably wouldn't put the Neuroparasite on them a lot of the time because I think they'll be wanting to do a
smite.
Although it is nice to have the option to give them the bonuses to cast to get it off a lot easier. I'd also want that on a Neurothrope. Oh, he does have it on a Neurothrope.
I would say he's got the one Neurothrope already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think that's fine. Ignore me on that one. But the logic is there.
I wouldn't mind seeing another unit of Gargoyles, to be honest.
Yeah, so I think there's a few little bits and pieces you could do here because it's very, very heavy on the Spore Mines.
Yeah.
The Spore Assist is an odd one because it's so short range. There's not always a good place to put it. And I'd worry with this list that it was a little light on the board. So you've got like your 3 Raveners, you've got 2 3 Warriors, 3 Venoms, 3 Zoanthropes. It's not a lot to really go and push opponents off objectives. You've got a lot of shooting, a lot of Spore Mines. Even the Hive Tyrant's got the Shard Gullet. So it's a very kind of gun line with little bits of push. I'd worry what the third secondary would be there.
I'd like to see I'd like to see more Warriors and more Raveners, to be honest, but that's more my playstyle. So I'm always a little bit leaning into that because big guys, while good, only have so many activations and output. You know what I mean? Like if you have a lot of models, the Rupture Cannon does do some work, but like,
yeah.
What happens if you just have like literally that army we were just talking about? Just mass warriors plus other stuff that would be very difficult for this list to take care of because it doesn't have enough shots.
So I'd be more intrigued to see this as kind of a Behemoth potentially. So you've got your Obsec monsters, put the different weapons on the Terran effects just to get the weight of shots onto things, and all of a sudden you've got an army that can push up the board a lot more. It's still got tons of Spore Mines and tools, but you get more Obsec, which is going to be big. It lets you push into your opponent more, being able to push up with them more.
Yeah, because we're not doing a ton with Leviathan right now anyways, though. This army doesn't need to be Leviathan, to be perfectly honest. It's not weighing into the Warriors and everybody else.
It does help because you get a lot of the rerolls as they're like adaptive on a lot of the units there. Do you benefit from that a little?
True, you're getting a reroll for everyone, but if you're bringing more volume of fire in the first place,
yeah, then it's less critical.
Right.
It It does also help because you can make the harpies and other such a little bit tougher. But
True. I mean, Leviathan's never bad. It's amazing. But I was just thinking of what do we lose for moving it over? Because I would like to see some. If we're going to make these big guys happen, I'd like to see them OBSEC for sure. And
yeah, I think it's just it's that third secondary is really tough.
And at that point in time, do I want to really lean into it and basically go like single harpy and another big bug?
I'd consider swapping the spore cyst out in that case, potentially even for the drop pod version. So yeah, you're getting less of the bits and pieces, but if you've got a Tyrannocyte that is dropping a unit of 3 guys somewhere, that can drop in and do an engage, that can drop in and distract. You can do that in drop a Carnifex of some kind out onto an objective.
Heavy venom cannons are still legit, and if they're OBSEC on that, you're pushing up. It is something.
Yeah, but then as soon as you've got like a harpy, a couple of bivos, you've got the spore mines to be an annoyance. You've got a big bug, so you've got 2 Tyrannofexes that can push up a bit. The hive type can push up a bit. You've got the OBSEC pod, and then all of a sudden you've got a lot of bits that are running up, and you've still got Venoms, Neuros, Raveners. It can push a lot more and control the board space. Whereas I think in its current form, if it's sitting back and shooting, there's the bits that want to push could potentially be a little too fragile.
Agreed. I just want a little bit more, I guess. There's so many small parts that none of them are terrifying me that much. So I'd like just more. I'd like to lean into one or the other. I'd rather have more guys, or I'd rather have more big bugs. You know what I mean? So I want to have an identity and a threat.
Yeah, so I think if you wanted to go kind of standard Leviathan, you'd just go a lot more warriors in there.
Yeah.
But that's very different from what this list is trying to do.
I was just about to say that's a completely revamp of the list itself. So let's go into that. You know what? I'm going to go to the next list just because I feel like you took this list just to harass me.
I think the next one's very interesting because
you know what? It hurt.
It's one where when you look at this and you go, this list, like, okay, there would have been changes I'd make to this list 2 days ago. Now, this is one where I think you look at this list and go, okay, let's not do a total rewrite, but you're going to start from the ground up with the things we see here.
Well, first off, let's talk about what happened to old Harlequins. Harlequins barely got touched, except for Dark.
Oh, Dark got kind of like put in a corner, locked in a box. And
I don't know if Dark Harlequins screwed around with one of the GW guys' wives. I don't understand what happened, but there was some vicious beatdowns. Dark Harlequins used to have automatic fight on death, automatically happen. So basically you're getting 20-25 attacks when you kill guys. Now, on a 4-up, you do Immortal.
Yeah, with a maximum of 6.
Yeah, it is hot trash fire.
They don't even have other bits like their Warlord trait, Relic, etc. isn't good enough to carry that.
Hold on, we got a super chat here from Matt L. Hey guys, looking at a Bat Patrol Armored Lady Sisters list. I'm stubborn. I will beat the Armored Lady out of you.
Oh, yeah, bloody Rose. Okay.
with 5 units of Zeph Seraphim, think I can get away with leaving Rage Off Vol to save on CP. Probably. I'll want to start with 2+. It's important. Here's my thing on Sisters. Sisters want more CP than almost anybody else because if you're using things like Repentia, you effectively have to be sitting on 4 for half the game because you want to interrupt and you want to fight on death. So my standard Sisters list basically starts with triple Repentia and double Zephyrin.
I think you can live with 2.
It's just hard because Sisters secondaries are so good right now that people are going to have to come to you. So I want that turn where I can just end the game.
Yeah, but most of the time I think because you're just putting that 1 unit out there, it's either interrupting or fighting on death. It's rare you're putting 2 unless they've come too close to you and you're just going, haha, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, but I love two Zeph and a Seraphim. I do like the Seraphim still because they allow you to do shenanigans. They also allow you to interrupt or to act do damage in a different phase. There's a lot of guys, cough cough, Abaddon, and you're going to see more Satan. Satan went down 50 points, man. So you're
those Sisters Flamers, they're not scaring those units.
Well, they're scaring the Satan. Satan only got a 4 up.
Yeah, okay.
You know, watch me do my 3 damage. Yeah, watch me do my 3 damage in the move phase. You'll understand it.
But it's like, I do think you want to start with 2+ for Sisters. I don't think you want to go lower.
No, I think it's 100% that you start at 2+.
Rage on Val is really, really nice, but I don't think it's the first thing I would take in a Sisters army. I think if you're looking at a Martyred Lady, I would rather have the
Canoness,
choppy Canoness in there before Val getting buffs, because she's solid enough on her own. She's not amazing, but she's solid. Righteous Rage makes her like really, really good. But having the 2 threats rather than just the 1, I think is more game changing. It gives you more control.
It's a big deal on that. So let's see what I want to do in this. Yes, start with 2+ on that, man. You're as long as I mean, I kind of feel like the auto takes for Sisters right now are the Noah's Ark. You're going to take Val, but then you're going to take 2/2/2 minimum of Retributors, Zephyrum, and Repentia.
No, 2/2/3.
I mean,
you're never not taking 3 Repentia unless you're doing it wrong.
I just said that. You said you could take 2.
Oh no, 2 CP. I think you'd want 3 Repentia.
I just said that you want 3 Repentia. You said no.
You're wrong. You're wrong and old.
I am probably wrong and old, but I do want 3 Repentia every time. They are fantastic. So, trying for Draxus again. I'm worried about Draxus just because you can't take a boar against some people, and it gives you it gives Thousand Sons a free 15 against you. So, yeah.
Yeah, I 100% would just be looking at Sisters going, that Draxus is another squad of something, and
Sister Squads they're just so good. Yeah. Vol's just putting out full rerolls on people is just buck wild too. Just even the ones and ones. Reroll hits and wounds and ones are just a big thing. She's nuts. Morven Vol Bobby G has a picture of Morven Vol on his wall of who he aspires to be.
No, he has a picture of Rain on his wall.
That is true. Fluff wise, that's true. The thing is, Matt, it's not you play whatever faction you like. We're always going to give you shit about it, but I think even with no matter what you're playing, Armored Lady, Bros, whatever, you need certain units are just auto takes purely on Sisters themselves because they're so efficient and good.
Yeah, I still really like Armored Lady. If you weren't playing that or Bloody Rose, then I'd be worried. But I think it's still got plays. It still has tools and tricks that Bloody Rose doesn't. It just doesn't have the sheer efficiency of punch you in the face.
It's just hard for me not to go an extra AP and an extra attack. That just comes back to my smooth brain self.
Yeah, well, speaking of extra AP, Dark.
Oh, God. I was literally willing to keep going other places because I'm so upset at this.
So I think you'd look at this list and go, okay, just drop Dark. You just go, you flip to Light, or you flip to Twilight.
Hold on. The chat says they want to sidetrack me for a minute, and I'm willing to do that.
Oh, not again. Not again.
Blood Angels. Blood Angels are freaking out of control right now. With the secondaries and the fact that the units that you were taking maximum ofs all went down 2 points. They're laughably the best hand-to-hand Marines there are right now. Uh-oh.
There we go. This stream is never ending. We're never touching this hardcore list.
As I hope. All parts of my plan.
Yeah,
Timothy O'Brien, $5 super chat. Brad, please tell me how to make GSC work. I'm desperate. You know what? I have a plan for GSC, and I'm going to tell you right now. I want pure strains. I want hybrid metamorphs. I want acolytes. I want a bunch of trash squads, like 5 and 10 manners. I want 2 squads with weapons, and I want 3 units of jackals. and I want effectively min characters and a sniper, Jesse James, and you can make that list work. Maybe a truck or two.
Yeah, definitely trucks. I think trucks are.
Yeah, I mean, probably if you know, tell you the truth, I say truck or two. I'm probably going to take 3.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 or 3 on that. But the thing is that you control the board, you take your secondaries. Your opponent has a very hard time stopping you from getting your secondaries. And that's a lot of hitting power. Metamorphs having fight on death is huge. Pure strains are still amazing. You're still going to take from below. But you have to have a lot. And you also have to stop the madness. Don't hit your opponent in their strengths. As a GSA player, you're looking for a dude with a broken leg and you want to fight him by himself with 10 of your friends. That's how you're fighting. You have to stop jamming it.
You just accept now, okay, they're going to die, stuff's going to die, but they're really solid at their secondary play. They're really good at just turning off opponent's primary as well.
Yeah.
I think you kind of just focus on the mission, the points, and the denials.
You're basically almost going to get tabled every single game you play, but you're going to win a bunch of games. Also, you're right on that, Matt. Twisted Helix is 1,000%. The list that I just said is auto Twisted Helix.
Yeah, you just run at people and go, there's enough threat, enough bodies, enough obsec, enough. I even like unit 15 with weapons, especially with knights and stuff around now.
That's what I'm saying. I want 2 units with weapons and a bunch of units of trash. I want literally 2 units with weapons, 4 units of trash. I want probably 3 and 2 pure strains and metamorphs. I want 3 units of jackals to get in the way, and I want Jesse James, and I want a couple trucks. And I'm literally just going to take the board. I'm going to keep coming in. I'm going to put a couple people. Somebody's going to come in at 3. I'm going to from below one of my units. I'm just going to put so much nonsense. I just call it bullshit basically on the board. Yeah. And I'm going to steal your objectives. People just aren't ready for you coming in within 3 with an obsec unit. You can just bam, steal an objective. Boom, give your opponent a 4, give them a 0.
And take the banner down.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to, it just denies them an extra point.
100%, man. Oh, we got another super chat here. Jacob, would a Sister of Silence army work? I don't know, to be honest. I haven't tried to make that work.
I think it depends what level you want it to work at. So I think if you're looking top level competitive,
no,
probably not. But
you can win an RTT though.
Run that. Yeah, like more local, more casual. Definitely could.
Her with the flamer and the buffs that she gives to that. What's her face? The HQ one.
Yes. Ooh, weird name. I can't remember that.
Yeah, the problem is that nobody bangs in hand there, so you've got a lot of like pokey stuff. But if somebody just damage checks you, you will just lose at that point in time.
Yeah, I'd worry there wasn't enough stuff, and you'd end up filling points with a Land Raider or Rhinos or something like that.
Yeah, they have a big problem with that. They have like lots of small armies. The Sisters of Silence could beat up on like other T3 armies and people with bad saves, but somebody just puts a couple pieces of 2 up and high toughness. You just have a hard time with that. So kind of it could work, but you're going to find pretty hard counters. It'd be fun. It'd also be annoying if somebody was playing you with like a psychic heavy army and they can't do anything to you.
Those sons are like, we brought good bolters.
Yeah. Okay. However, the 2 units of Terminators are probably still tabled an army, so.
Yeah. I think it's just a bit too fragile without enough punch. But I think you could definitely build a little bit of custodes in there and just go heavy on the sisters, or even stuff like
you could do. But what happens if you just played Dreadnoughts and Sisters of Silence? That would work. I think you could do that.
Or like guard tanks with Sisters in Silence.
Yeah, I mean that would help like a lot actually. I mean, there's different ways to build it. It depends on how heavy you want to be with it. What do we got? I think another super stat. Yes. This is far from the set extreme over Jack and Siegs need to be rated way higher than theirs. Maybe like
so
Harley's.
Did you see that, Brad? Did you see the vote yesterday?
Mm-mm.
So the vote was who's more attractive, Jack or Richard? And I think Nick won.
Hold on. Let me pull off the rose-colored glasses. Bask in the old man glory. Ugh. I just get a headache immediately from not having these on. My lights are so bright in my face. Britt makes fun of these constantly. She calls me the Walmart Tony Spark or Tony God damn it, I can't even talk anymore. I'm so bad of an Avenger that I can't even give it out. But
Yeah, you're
all
in
right.
the village future Avenger.
I am definitely the low rate. Mark Perry #1. Mark Perry he's the shoeless wonder.
I was going to go for the house dog, but
Perry's also one of the nicest people you've ever met. I don't even know if it's possible to make Mark mad at you. So
I'm sure Nick's managed.
I mean, well, Nick that doesn't count.
Okay, so
somebody.
No, Brad, no. That's Harlequins. So
fine.
I think this list it has a lot of the tools there.
I don't want 10-man troops.
No, that was the first thing I was about to say. When you're going away from Dark, which
Dark doesn't exist anymore, you're going to take lighter Twilight. I'm sorry, it just doesn't.
Even if you're running little squads, the Dark, yeah, you get extra AP, but you're doing like 1 or 2 mortals. It's just nothing. It's not doing anything.
Twilight, you're getting extra attacks.
I think this works better as Twilight because it doesn't have as many Starweavers, unless you're changing the solo Voidweaver to a Starweaver and running 3 solo Voidweavers.
The problem is I can only fire and fade once. So the Voidweavers became awkward. With the 3-man Voidweaver I love, but I wanted to fire and fade at every turn. Maybe I can hide behind a piece of terrain and just pick my angles because of the fact that it has pretty good range. So
yeah, I do 3 solos now, I think.
Yes, I don't know that. Maybe it depends on how you want to do with it. To tell you the truth, I do love the just obliterating something with that. You know what I mean? So because of the fire and fade, I mean it's only once a game, but the fact is that I shoot fire and fade, then I come out and I sneak shots out the rest of the game. I think that Voidweavers, I'm never going to spend my once a game fire and fade on one Voidweaver.
No, but it can just sit at the back with the range, pick its angles, not get shot back from too much, and it gives you that little bit of range. So you don't have to commit the boats with the fusions and stuff right in someone's face.
Either way, if we go 1 times 3 or we go 3 times 1, I still want to make that 4th Voidweaver a Starweaver.
Yeah, 100%. I think, especially going light, you gain a lot more out of that. A lot of lists you're seeing have more Starweavers, but I think having that, I don't think 1 big troop is bad. But
well, if we're going more than 1 troop, we make this Twilight for sure.
Yeah,
you just get it's just more swings. It's like basically taking Frozen Stars. You know what I mean? You just want more if you're running those big squads. So my thing is like, what are we taking for my secondaries? We're gonna take Deadly for sure.
Yep, Deadly is so strong. You've got. I'd be tempted, maybe even to put another Shadow Seer in there for 5 of the troop or with some of the weapons, etc. Because then you've got your output and your aggro from 1, and you've got your psychic secondaries. Because Harlequin secondaries and psychics are really good now.
They're easy too.
2 really nice options.
I'd say they're very easy to get to. So I like that. If I agree with you on that. If we're gonna keep this. So it goes to Twilight, and if we keep the big troops, which I'm meh about, it's definitely Twilight. And I do like the idea of a second Shadow Seer with that, because then we're going to run the Shadow Seer up with the bigger troops.
Yeah.
So
like that, I think that gives you a secondary option. You've got banners, you've got R&D, you've got engage, you've got the 2 psychic options. I think there's like 5 options you've got as secondaries for Harlequins, which I think puts them up there with Sisters as probably one of the best secondary armies in the game at the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas everyone's lost stuff, they didn't like. Okay, they lost Strangle, they lost to the last, but a lot of builds didn't want to do it to the last with Harleys. I
actually don't like the to the last as much with them, anyways, because I want to be able to use them because they're so fast and they can do shenanigans on this. So yeah, I do think the Solitaire is amazing. You can do it's the threat of the Solitaire too. Just letting that Solitaire sitting at mid board just go, I could be anywhere in your backfield right now. Figure it out.
Like the Solitaire, I know some people don't like him as much, but having that threat in a list, it opens up something crazy because you've got that, you've got the Troop Master, you've got 2 that can just go fetch, and it can just pick up little units on their own. And he doesn't really die very easily unless it's to mortal wounds and such.
I'm gonna hit the wall real quick for 1 minute because we have to be done in a second here.
Oh,
Lewis, drop the Wraith Knight. Take a webway gate. Take more Wraith, other Wraith stuffs to fit inside what you're trying to do, which is a particular type of build. Take the Avatar 3 to 4 units of Wraiths. Put a Wraith Seer in there to put some more Wraith Lords in there. Have stuff pop out of the Wraith Gate. Make it look like the last scene of Exodite, where all the Phantoms the Phantom Titans came through.
I'm going to say keep that Wraith Knight. Keep it.
I mean, it looks
That's
sweet.
such a cool centerpiece for that army.
I mean, if it looks sweet, it looks sweet. The rule of cool always applies.
Ooh.
But,
And if you've not built it yet, swap the Avatar's head for a Wraith Lord's.
Ooh, that's actually a good mojo on it. You could do like a thing. I do want psychic. You definitely want a big psychic brick behind that. You want fortune. You want your buff spells because wraiths are looking to stay alive. Yeah. So, but you definitely need a webway gate. It also looks super cool. The webway gate on the board just looks awesome. So that's just a real thing. On that note, I have to coach right now. So.
I've got another call as well. So thanks very much for coming on, guys. We'll have another one of these next week. And if anyone wants to submit lists, drop in on the Discord in the Fix My List section, and we'll get a couple picked out for next week's episode.
Can do. Everyone, take it easy.